It's day 23 of 30 GIMP tutorials. In today's tutorial, you'll discover how to create an Instagram filter effect. If you're ready, that's right, let's do it. So the first thing we need to do is duplicate the layer. Then we're going to create a new layer called warming filter. Make sure it's filled with transparency, and then we can come over and grab our foreground color here, and we're going to choose a nice warm color. So I'm going to use this color right here. So if you want to use the same color, go ahead and type in that number. Then with the bucket fill tool, we can go ahead and fill that color in. Now we're going to take that warming filter layer and apply a soft light blending mode. Now we're going to take these two new layers right here and group them together and create a duplicate layer of that. So let's right click and create a new layer group. Let's put both of these inside. Now let's right click on our layer group and select duplicate layer. This way we can work non-destructively, because what we're going to do now is right click again and group the layer group. So it becomes one layer versus a grouped layer, because now we're going to come up and add a color balance adjustment to that layer. First, we're going to work in the shadows, and we're going to type in -25 for red and then -25 for blue. Actually, let's make that 25 instead of minus. Next, we're going to select highlights, and we're going to type in -10 and then +10. Go ahead and click OK. Actually, before you do that, if you haven't clicked OK yet, I just want to show you this real quick. Because if you want to create this particular edit again in the future, and you don't want to worry about memorizing these different steps and the highlights and the shadows and the numbers, you can actually create a preset by clicking on this icon right here. I'm going to call it Instagram Edit. Click OK. And now I can come in here and select my Instagram Edit preset from here in the future. That way I don't have to worry about adjusting these numbers later on or trying to remember what those numbers are. So that's a good pro tip for creating your edits and your visual effects much faster. All right, now let's go ahead and click OK. All right, now we're going to duplicate this layer. Let's call it curves, because what I want to do is apply an S curve. So we're going to go up to colors, curves, and go ahead and create an S curve of your choice. I just want to make it pop a little bit. Let's go ahead and duplicate that layer again. I'm going to call it saturation, because what I want to do is tone down the saturation a little bit. It's a little bit too intense for my taste. So this is optional. It's entirely up to you. Actually, I want to use hue and saturation instead. And I'm just going to drop the saturation down to around -15. So right there should be good. Okay, let's go ahead and create a new layer. We're going to call this cooling filter. Let's grab a nice dark blue color. Actually, that's too dark, so I'm going to go with something like that. Let's go ahead and fill it in. And let's also change the blend mode to, let's select exclusion. And that effect is a little bit too intense for me, so I'm going to drop the opacity down to around 50. All right, let's go ahead and create another new layer. Let's call it gradient map. Let's actually fill it in with white. All right, let's go ahead and grab our gradient tool now. And we're going to select radial for the shape. And we also want foreground to transparent. And I'm going to use that same blue color that we used in a previous layer. I'm going to make this fairly large here. So something like that. I'm going to bring this out a little bit. So right there looks good. All right, let's go back to our layer panel here so we can change the blending mode of this layer as well to, let's use soft light. And I'm going to tone it down as well to right around 50. All right, let's grab our text tool. Now, as far as the font, I'm going to use a new font here. It's called Billabong. Size, I don't know. Let's start off with 300 and let's make it white. So I'm just going to type out Instagram effect. I think that's a little bit too large, so I'm going to make that 200. Let's go a little bit more, 225. So right there should be good. And then with our move tool, we can move this into position. Let's go ahead and change the layer boundary to fit the image size. That way we can add a drop shadow under filters, lighten shadow, and drop shadow. For the opacity, I'm going to go up a little bit higher to right around 80. So I'm liking that right there. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now I want to change the blending mode for that content. So let's go up and let's try a different one. Grain merge. Let's try that effect. So let's go ahead and zoom in here so we can kind of see what's going on. Yep, I like that. We have some detail coming through the letters now, and that's what I wanted. So just another type of effect you can achieve with your blending modes, as well as applying all these different layers to come up with a new visual effect.